Thank you for staying with us on Citizen Weekend, and we get into the Haiti deployment 1 year on. Now, on the 19th of June, in a letter to the Security Council, Kenya requested, and I quote, expeditious consideration by the Council of the Secretary General's proposals. We'll get into what those proposals look like. Kenya's letter stated that 991 officers are currently deployed in Haiti, amounting to only 39.6% of the 2,500 originally planned, and that the mission remains under-equipped and without adequate operational support to effectively carry out its tasks, notably preventing the establishment of several forward operating bases, which would be critical for the mission's success. Now, Kenya says it feels duty-bound to review its engagement in Haiti and take the necessary decisions. Take a look at what the United States has had to say on the matter.
Now, a basic modicum of security is provided by a Kenyan-led multilateral force blessed by the UN. The United States has committed almost $1 billion to this force. We commend the deployment of security force personnel and other contributions from some of the nations represented in this room that made the mission possible. But the United States cannot continue shouldering this heavy financial burden.
All right. So the gentleman who was speaking there is Christopher Landau, the Deputy Secretary of State, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, and he was speaking just this week. As I mentioned earlier, we are joined virtually by Dr. Hassan Hanenje, who is the director of the Horn Institute, and we're also joined from Washington, D.C. by Joanna LeBlanc, who is as you can see, her name tag is going to come up, but she's a foreign affairs expert, foreign law, and just one quick second, and foreign affairs expert. All right, so we'll start with you, Dr. Hassan Hanenje. It has been a year. What do you make of Kenya saying it feels duty-bound to review its engagement in Haiti on account of funding uncertainties? Dr. Hanenje, can you hear me?
Olive, I think at a moment of great controversy, especially with regard. Olive,
I can hear you.
At a moment of great controversy.
Sorry,
yes.
Let me ask you the question again. What do you make of Kenya's letter to the United Nations Security Council? There's a meeting which is scheduled for Monday, and Kenya says it is duty-bound to review its engagement in Haiti on account of funding uncertainties. Your thoughts?
Yes, Olive, I think at a moment of great controversy regarding, our police, forces, one bright spot has actually been the success that's been registered by the Kenyan police and the Kenyan security services within the framework of multinational, security support in Haiti. And, it has succeeded at a time when, of course, there is great strains when it comes to the commitment by partners to not just to funding, but also the additional troops that are going to be needed to ensure that actually the mission is successful. And so I think Kenya, while this is in line with Kenya's own commitments and within Kenya's foreign policy, the success that has been registered needs to be supported. And therefore, I think a clear commitment from partners that this process is going to continue is going to be important for Kenya's, continued engagement, as well as Kenya's ability to lead a mission in a way that's going to be successful in helping the people of Haiti and the country of Haiti.
All right, Joanna, you can come in now. Joanna LeBlanc, and I'm sorry for bungling your title there, National Security Law and Foreign Relations Expert. But Joanna, listening to the United States say that it cannot continue to bear this financial burden and calling on OAS member states to step up to the plate, what do you make of those remarks?
Well, first and foremost, Haiti is more than just a domestic crisis. It is a regional security with global threats, implications, right? And in terms of Kenya not having sufficient resources to continue on with this mission, I strongly doubted that the United States will provide additional support. And here's why. I think when the commitment was entered into, there was definitely great hopes to be successful on the ground. But as you know, the situation in Haiti is one that is incredibly complicated and complex, which the Kenyan-led mission just was not familiar with the terrain, the political landscape within the country, and a host of other challenges. Now, what has happened is that the Haitian government has hired on a private military contracting company to provide assistance and to help address the gang crisis in the country. And what I can anticipate is that I think the United States will also provide some additional funding to that private military company because it is a company that has been sanctioned by the United States, that the United States actually supports. And in addition to that, the U.S. has asked the Organization of American States, which is the multilateral organization within the region, to provide more support. So I don't think Kenya will receive much support from this government, if any at all.
All right. Dr. Hanenje, I'll ask you to come in at this point. Now, some of the mandate of this particular mission ends on October the 2nd. There was a UN Security Council meeting that was held on May the 28th. But I suppose the UN member states are looking to see which way or what America makes of the proposals by the UN Secretary General. Some of those recommendations are that issues to do with accommodation, logistics generally, should be handled by the United Nations, and issues to do with stipends should be handled by the contributed funds. Is that a scenario similar to what we have in Somalia?
I think it's important to appreciate the unique nature of this mission. It is different from what you have in Somalia, in part because of the manner in which, for instance, AWSOM and previously, ATMIS and AMISOM was constituted is different, and even the mission, it's actually different of the objectives. Now, it is, I think, critical to underscore that even with the limited resources that have been available, I think the Kenyan-led mission has been able to secure, at the very least, to ensure that critical infrastructure has been secured. The airport, for instance, is working. The government installations, are working. Now, that creates a very good room, to allow not just a political process to take root, but for others to come in. Now, I think the challenge has to be with a degree of commitment. Now, there are other partners, of course, who have been contributing to this mission, but the uncertainty with regard to continued funding is something that, of course, is going to worry Nairobi. But to the extent that they've been able to achieve, quite a bit, with so little and with very little manpower, considering, as you mentioned, that the current number is just around 39% of what is actually needed, I think it's something that should be supported. Now, the question about the United States commitment, I think the U.S. will be best advised to actually support this mission. It is in its best interest, not just because they are afraid of getting more refugees from the Caribbean and other countries, but critically, it's also in its backyard. But as Johanna has mentioned, it is also a regional problem, because what plagues Haiti? Haiti is a country with more than 13 plus million people. So that is significant. So if it falls apart, it has repercussions on the entire region. And of course, that's also going to affect the United States. And so I think it's, Washington is going to be best advised to actually support this mission in a more robust way. And I suspect at some point, while there is very little skepticism, or rather very, very high skepticism with regard to commitment, coming from Washington, I think there is a consensus and recognition that actually this mission is important. And at some point, I suspect that some people in Washington are actually going to see that need and perhaps do the right thing.
All right. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Joanna, on the veto by Russia and China for this to transition into a UN peacekeeping operation, which the U.S. Had proposed. And given even the United Nations Secretary General has taken the view that a UN peacekeeping mission at this time, unless the gangs, I beg your pardon, are contained, would not be the best idea. Your thoughts?
Well, it was expected that two of America's greatest adversaries, China and Russia, will veto anything that deals with the United States, right? So let's just be frank here. So that was anticipated. And also, too, in terms of the UN providing a peacekeeping force in Haiti, we've seen this movie before, right? After the 2010 disastrous earthquake that killed more than 200,000 people in the country, there were boots on the ground by the UN, and there's been, while while there was some successes, there was also some challenges, and they were highly criticized by the Haitian people, by the human rights groups, of various human rights violations. And the people of Haiti in general just does not want another UN peacekeeping mission in Haiti. So there's that part of it. But I would like to go back to the private security company that has been hired by the Haitian government. I think it's important for us to note that that private security company is an American company. And we have to also understand that President Trump has an American first policy, meaning that any engagement that America signs up for must benefit the American people in the homeland. So in addition to this private security company that has been contracted, the U.S. administration has recently designated 2 of the Haitian gangs as foreign terrorist organizations, which has significant implications from a foreign policy and a legal perspective. And what that means is that normal politics in Haiti has now been suspended. And some of us in the national security space, we ask ourselves, was this the right tool to address the gangs? Now, let's be honest, they have caused some atrocities in the country. We're talking about, Olive, more than 1.5 million people have been displaced, right, in the country. We're talking about increased number of irregular migration across the region. And we're also talking about, for the past 6 months alone, more than 5,000 people have died. That is rather significant. So those gangs need to be sanctioned. They need to be dealt with. But is a counterterrorism tool the right tool to deal with those folks, especially when we have other sanctioned tools like the Global Magnitsky Act that would achieve the same purpose but would not suspend normal politics in the country?
All right, Dr. Hanenje, I'm curious, your thoughts on that, the contracting of a U.S. private security firm. What does that mean for MSS? Even as the U.S. says Kenya is leading the MSS, but the OAS needs to step up.
Yeah, private security, contractors, have always had mixed results. Of course, if that is true and the government, Port-au-Prince, has decided places to do. However, one thing that we have known that it has worked, at least in the past 1 year, is that if the current Nairobi-led mission is actually supported, given the right equipment, but also fundamentally, given assistance in terms of, additional personnel from other countries, as well as funding, it has shown that it can actually work. Now, Johanna mentions about the designation, of some of the gang members as terrorists. Yeah, that has implications with regards to potential sanctioning and freezing of their assets and limiting in terms of their movement. But we do not know from history, how well that has actually worked. Now, personally, I would probably favor something that has been tried and tested again. And I say, despite the limitations and certain constraints, the Nairobi-led framework thus far has secured a degree of breathing space, in Haiti. And perhaps that's kind of the path that should actually be supported in a more robust way going forward.
All right, Joanna, your last word?
I think that the Kenyan-led mission was an innovative regional solution. But unfortunately, from the inception of this mission, it was gravely underfunded by the United States government, right? So I think that continued success for this mission will depend on strong legal frameworks and integration of Haiti's future security architecture, in addition to sufficient financing for the Kenyan-led mission to be successful on the ground.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan Hanenje and Joanna LeBlanc, who is a national security law and foreign relations expert, and Dr. Hassan Hanenje, who is the director of the Horn Institute. We take a break, but the conversation on Haiti, definitely there's a lot to consider, and we will continue it at another time. See you on the other side of this break.